He did not go back to the village. He turned toward the deep desert, where no one would follow. He came to the river and crossed to the far bank, into the land Egypt left to the dead. There, half swallowed by sand, stood an abandoned Roman fort, empty, forgotten, perfect. He walked in and asked his one friend for a single thing.
Bring bread when you can, and tell them I'm already gone.
Then he sealed the door from the inside and shut the world out. No visitors, no letters, no face. Bread twice a year, lowered on a thin cord over the high wall. He was 35 years old. He would not open that door again for 20 years. And here the story does something strange. It goes silent. For the first time, there is nothing to see, no beasts to paint, no monster to fear. Only a man in the dark, and the voices that came for him there.
You can't hide from us in here. I didn't come to hide. I came to finish it.
The fight was no longer with claws, but with memory and boredom and the ache of being utterly alone. Outside, the seasons turned. Bread came and went. The fort never moved. Pilgrims began to climb just to listen at the wall. And what they heard frightened them. Crashing, a cry, a battle with no end. They called through the stone, begging him to answer. For years he did not. They did not understand. The noise was not him losing. It was the enemy failing. Year after year, the voices grew quieter. The man grew still. Until the desert outside went completely silent, and that frightened them most of all. 20 years had passed. His friends could bear it no longer. They came in a crowd and put their hands to the door. They braced for the worst, a skeleton, a madman, a body long dead. They tore it open. And light poured out, and Antony walked into it. He was not wasted. He was not wild. Whole, clear-eyed, calm, as if 20 years of war had only made him more himself.
Why do you weep? I never left you, band. I went to meet the one who never leaves.
They had come to bury him. Instead, they could not stop staring. A man had gone into the dark to fight and walked out at peace. The desert had never seen it. He could not hide anymore. The sick came, the grieving came, the lost came. He comforted the sick and steadied the broken. And then they did the very thing he had fled the world to escape. They stayed. On the hills around him, men began to dig cells and pray and copy his life.
You didn't come to find me. You came to find what I was looking for. Stay high and look with me.
Where there had been empty sand, there were now lamps in the dark, dozens, then hundreds. The biographers wrote one astonished line: the desert had become a city. One man, trying to disappear, had founded a way of life that still exists 17 centuries later. They begged him to teach, so once he did. And the heart of it was the opposite of what they expected to hear about demons.
Do not fear the demons. They are shadows with loud voices. Make the sign of the cross Palala, and they scatter like smoke.
They are not your equals, he said. They are not even strong.
They can't read your heart. They only watch your face. So give them nothing to read.
It was a teaching the whole desert would carry, and the church would never forget. But the demons had been listening too, and they tried the one door even saints leave unlocked. First, the clever. Philosophers climbed the mountain to expose a farmer who could barely read. They argued in circles, certain they would win.
You came with 1,000 words. I have one ataf, and he is enough.
They left with nothing to say. Then the powerful, an emperor's sealed letter carried up the mountain by his officials. The most honored man in the world was asking for his attention.
Tell the Emperor Pant, a dead man can't be flattered.
Here was the real danger, not the scorn of philosophers, but the love of the whole world. They wanted to make him great, a holy man, a living legend, a name to swear by. He knew exactly what that was.
If you make me great, you make me pray.
The thing terror could not do, honor almost could, so he refused it, on his knees. The temptations grew quieter and stranger. One day on the path he found silver in the sand, then a heap of gold, real, gleaming, his for the taking.
Even the gold is a question. The answer is still no.
He walked past it, and behind him it thinned into smoke. And at the end, when nothing else had worked, the enemy tried honesty.
You beat me with fasting, but every man breaks at being loved. Then I'll be loved by the one who can't be faked.
It was the last thing the dark said to him for a long time. He had won the battle no one could see, and it cost him the one thing he wanted most, to be left alone. The more they needed him, the more he knew he had to disappear again, farther, where only God could follow.
The more you need me, the less I can stay. Seek the one I sought. He's farther in.
And so he set his face toward the inner mountain,
and a solitude that would make the fortress look crowded.
He was barely halfway through his life. The desert had a city now, and its father was about to vanish into it. Tell us below, which Coptic story should we tell next? Follow Coptic Orthodox for more. Ancient Faith, Modern Media.